Think about this. When you invited me to come to your podcast, I tell you, I love the name of your podcast. That's what we're talking about, right? We as educators, we need to be the students we want our students to be. Would you ever allow a kid to say, okay, I got it. I'm done. I've learned as much as I can learn. I am, right? Even as kids master new standards, you're like, okay, great, fantastic. High five. We ain't done yet. You never stop learning.
We're never done.
And that's what we're trying to be. We are trying to be the students we want our students to be. And when we invest in our learning, lifelong learning, we'll better serve our kids. And we're modeling for our students what it means to be a vulnerable, lifelong learner.
Amen. Mike, would you mind if I tell you why I named it Lifelong Learning Defined? Is that okay?
I would love to hear that.
Ever see Forrest Gump?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when Jenny dumped him for the very last time and the guy went running for like 3 years?
3 years.
In 2011, I had a major loss in my life. And up till then, I never had a major loss that I had no choice but to feel. There's emotional trauma and there's psychological trauma. So this was actually psychological. I was stuck in a very difficult emotion, PTSD. I had to deal with what it was. And anyone that has ever overcome a traumatic experience knows you have to feel it to heal it. There's no way around it. And if you don't feel it, you're not going to heal it. I went running with my work. I work at a district office. I was responsible for STEM and computer science, but our director at the time, rest in peace, Victoria Oakley, who just passed away, she was adamant on every instructional leader in the district visiting schools every 9 weeks, doing instructional rounds, looking at themes in the data, and then developing professional development based on what we saw. I took a deep dive into that because that was the only thing that would take my mind off what I was dealing with. 5 years into that journey of becoming a master teacher, of understanding what the leader needs to support learning, but what the teacher needs to do in order to induce learning, I defined my lifelong learning. I was reading Dr. Covey's book, and he said, you need to have your mission statement or your epitaph, you need to have that written down. So I wrote Lifelong Learning Defined before the company was even thought of. And then as I started going into schools around the country for project-based learning, and I'm sitting with people, I started realizing that the deep dive I took, a lot of people haven't taken. So now my work is to help other educators define their lifelong learning, their personal and their professional growth. And that's how it happened. We added for self-improvement, and this is for all the edupreneurs that want to do podcasts, because educational podcasts don't really get hits, but self-improvement does. And that's really what it's for. My friend Tobias told me about that. So we added it to the...
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I've earned a few gray hairs over the years. And would you agree with this statement? Wouldn't it be cool if in life we learn the most from our successes? But that's rarely the case. It's usually the hard things in our life, because those hard things are the ones that force us to make some changes that if life was comfortable, I'm not sure if we would have the courage and the discipline to go through the journey you have to go through to come out on the other side, to be a little wiser, a little more enlightened, a little more healthy in our practice, a little more wise. For you to share that story, it's personal. So thank you for sharing it. And B, I'm not surprised when there, a few key things in my life that I think put me on a certain trajectory, personal and professional. They almost all came out of some of the hardest points in my life. But those are the moments you stop and reflect and say, what's really important and what do I need to do? What can I control that I need to do that would be better for myself and the people I love in my life?
Thank you for listening to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast with Jorge Valenzuela.